doesn't it?
Oh, yeah,
That's right, yeah. So we can go down to 200 feet to aid in finding submarines, look at the surface picture, get below clouds and bring our camera's view which pops up from underneath the fuselage here.
Okay, and to slide all weathers.
All weathers, that's right. We are able to go in icing, turbulence, cloud, and go out there and get the job done. Because we don't have a choice sometimes where and when our adversities are going to cycling.
There's a good chance he's going to rotate just about here, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just 5,000-6,000 feet.
They're nice. I'll catch him in between this gap here.
You can see that little kid's head.
You hear me whispering in your ear there?
Yeah.
You. I'm going on your shoulder, bro. Stay still. No, I'm joking. I'm playing.
I did feel you on my shoulder to this round. Nearly took out that bird as well. Yeah, good one, mate.
Anyway, it's highway, we could do off spike.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's pleased at it, were
Can you push that way?
Not really, because this gent's recording, I'm not pushing in front of his record.
For a flag.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have believed that the difference between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock then was quite extraordinary, and we're hoping and still planning, I can assure you, to start the overstay on time at 10 o'clock. And in a few minutes' time we'll be handing over to our expert commentary team to lead you through the day, which is right on line-wide till 5:30. And of course the showground remains open until 7:30 as well this evening. So we want you to enjoy both in the air and on the ground. To RIAT Fairford, a very warm welcome to the world's greatest military air show. A very warm welcome to the Royal International Air Tattoo 2025.
Come to Mercedes, please.
Of course, as we go through today, we'll be highlighting some of the outstanding airplanes on show in the static park here at RIAT as well. For every year, we like to bring the aircraft from New Air Arms, joining the Air Tattoo Here we go! After burning on, launching like a rocket into the sky. Ready to look right after takeoff. Then the wait for contact. We don't want to buy this one.
the Eurofighters. Watch. So, 0 to hero. More horsepower than a whole table. Let's see what Ben is gonna do. And now, a proper English roll, smooth, elegant, very polite, almost like having afternoon tea in the sky. Yeah guys, that was beautified ballet.
Sometimes you could have got that picture.
I know. Honestly.
So, it's time for the forward five. Upside down, saying goodbye the hard way. Way back, then you can see you from the cockpit. Don't forget to visit our stand. Hit bingo, take pictures, and ask your questions. We would love to see you there. And who knows, maybe the real Spanish weather is waiting for you at the pilot spot. And now, one last big round of applause for bingo, ladies and gentlemen. Ole! Muchas gracias. Walk from slack.
Hello, RIAT. This is your major speaking. With pleasure for the first time, I present you with Tiger Show. Please fasten your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Tiger, tiger, tiger.
Buckle up, RIAT. The Tiger is ready. please. That will shake the spiral flown under high G, drawing the perfect circles in the sky. Pull up the burner and start the rocket flight plan. Now, the slight return and to the speed of sound. Officer, this one is for you. Get ready to take stunning photos on your right in dedication pass. The perfect opportunity to wave to say goodbye to flag.
Round the tail.
setting up here for the Cobra manoeuvre, which the Finns also call the hat.
I took 4,000 yesterday.
But now, at the slow, around 120 to 130 knots here, at a height of 400 feet and about a 25-degree angle of attack mark. Yes, so the angle of attack is basically yeah, it really is carefree handling for the pilot. The pilot basically backsticks it. Clients, with their FA-18 Hornet force, ever since they sent 4 Hornets off to Romania for the NATO air shielding mission alongside RIAT Typhoons that same year. And earlier this year, they deployed Hornets to Iceland for the first time to undertake the Quick Reaction Alert air defence mission and air policing in Iceland, which doesn't have any fighter aircraft of its own, for the first time. The Hornets gradually being retired from Finnish service with the advent of the F-35A Lightning II, of which Finland is buying 64, but nonetheless, this is an exceptionally impressive performer. in the hands there of Captain Petteri Kairinen from Fighter Squadron 11 of the Finnish Air Force, the FAATC Hornet.
Well, unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say that, but due to weather conditions, the pilot must coordinate the flight group commander real time and revise and manage the program according to the ceiling. But I guarantee we're going to have a great deal of fun.
Oh, it's Italian.
So we begin at 300 feet, enter speed 180 knots, G-load 2.5. Temperature on our right. The beating heart of the Spartan are the two powerful Rolls-Royce turboprops, each generating over 4,600 horsepower, driving 6 blade propellers. Here he comes, turning back towards us to place a knot in the sky, right above the line. Stand back to know.
Oh my god!
At low altitude, across tall to medium ranges, especially during takeoff and landing, turboprop. Transition maneuvers are displaying themselves, graceful, sensual, spectacular. At the heart of every move lies a silent dialogue between pilot and crew. Now performing the beat wing over, powerful sweeping turn. Pounds of payload in logistics operation.
What do you do? वो एक बार फाइटर जेट आया था पास में लगा के
Your pursuit approach performed frontally will reverse the beginning of descent, close control, not how to drive. Fast control, brings the tough landings in the high terrain. Well, today is Spartan showcases the new operations and capabilities, aerial firefighting. At the heart is the roll-on 10 unit, which can be used stored in just a few hours. This turns the cargo hold into a fully functional firefighting area. Up again. The latest evolution of our C-57J next generation, which is a fully upgraded electronic suite, includes system integration, aerodynamics refinement, including winglets.
It's because I was
Schedules, just for legal amendments, with weather. Now, basic 250, a gripping moment of dramatic irony is about to unfold. The first next chapter curtain girl performs the majestic art of a center lead. And now a razor sharp, 170 degrees over to the right, left, and first fast control, big to top left, in the side away.
Thank you. Looks good to see you. Really cheap.
Shut down! This is how the crew the George Jim of Rice to an epic final. And it's not finished yet. That's what landing has going down. But it's time to leave the field. I have a 57 spot, number one, the color inside the line. It's solid. That's the descent. By side at a time when Michele Minato to pilot power and effort. The angel with the stairs. There's no sense of the sector is very important in the field. And these in the cockpit, outstanding, that is very completed. The watchdog of the nation, the guardian of system, just as the Civica, the sharpest eyes of the field, showing the flag.
It's a big test for the helicopters, that in itself. Also, when you think of operations at sea, the high waves that such winds generate are a big problem, but they always pass that test to the search and rescue demo. So we've got a simulated survivor at Crowd Centre with a smoke flare. The smoke flare is the last of the location aids that can be used by somebody potentially down working or down similar ship. British aircraft very well in the UK, now operated solely by the Royal Navy. We've got one of their Squadron 751.
To be honest, these got on canon.com, which is crazy.
Spray coming in.
The United States Air Force C-17 gets airborne. Just had a quick update from the Met Office. Not many changes. The temperature now is plus 19, expected to go up to plus 24. The D-Day landing beaches and glider landing sites, locating German coastal defences around Normandy. A PR-11 leads this pair of PR Spitfires with the Mark 19.
Oh no!
I've got so many pictures up there then. Idiots.
Spitfires like those two flew mostly un chirping, and there the roar of the single General Electric RM16 engine powering into the air, the Saab Gas 39E Ripper. It's got more powerful engines, it can carry greater weapons grade and is longer range than the earlier models, but it is still quite an affordable fighter. exported the Griffin to Hungary, Czech Republic, Thailand, South Africa, and Brazil. They were being built under license at the Embraer plant in Sao Paulo, and they're due to be complete and the E model is about 30% more powerful than the C model that preceded it. It's got about 30% more internal fuel, so it accelerates much more quickly at all altitudes. They've also beefed up the airframe somewhat, meaning the full 9G capability is available. But here, Mark, we're at the other end of the speed spectrum. Totally other end of this speed spectrum. Minimum speed here expected about 100 knots. Very high alpha. In excess of 25 degrees, but far more efficient than the Delta Canard configuration as we see here. Because they're keeping some of the older models as well. Brazil has purchased an additional batch of 36 and through discussions to increase that. Thailand is buying 12, and Colombia has just confirmed a plan to procure 16. And it's been serving with the Swedish Air Force since the first production examples were delivered to F7 Wing at Sortona in late 2021, and with the Brazilian Air Force since April this year. All of these are new build airframes considered being conversions of existing Griffins. Transition there from a +6 positive G-turn to a -2.5 G outside turn. With the Griffin E. Now as Martin rolls out after a really exciting display, a quick update on what we're going to be seeing next. The RAF Red Arrows planned flypast with the RAF Poseidon has unfortunately had to be cancelled due to that weather delay. So the Red Arrows will next be taking off, forming up, and then Griffin E. There's AI powered, but it's not what you think it might be. This refers to the developmental elements of the aircraft, in particular the simulations of beyond visual range fighting, the BVR fighting. That is done in a synthetic environment and is conducted under
Please put your hands together for the 2025 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team. It's the Red Arrows! stay open. That can house a torpedo. At the moment, there's a multi-role maritime patrol aircraft equipped with sensors and weapon systems for anti-submarine warfare, as well as surveillance and search and rescue capability. It also works alongside the Royal Navy to identify and track naval assets. For portent of things to come, the debut operational mission for the Poseidon in RAF service in August 2020 saw one of these aircraft shadowing a Russian Navy warship in the North Sea, backed up by RAF. US Navy, obviously the RIAT, Canada, Germany and Norway will all operate P8s quite regularly. Famous manufacturer from Lockheed. It is a remarkable machine, and we're going to be seeing one here, and we did yesterday, flying in a public display for what's believed to be the first time in full mission configuration. It comes to us from the Fairford-based 99th Expeditionary Reconnaissance Squadron of UN. And here it goes, the incredible Lockheed U2S.
It's off the floor already.
Greater intelligence on Soviet capabilities. Pilot call sign Popeye, Scott Thompson, welcome back to RIAT. Oh, Ben, great to be here. Now I believe, apart from anything else, as we go through this display, we'll actually be able to hear some of the chase car transmissions later on when those parts of the demo take place. But what are we going to be seeing first? What it would typically be configured for an operational mission. And what that means is there's some sensitive equipment on board housed appropriately that would be used wherever the operational commanders requested to be. So the signals intelligence suite is in these superpods that are on the wings, and that listens, as you might, the eyes and ears, as you might be able to determine, and the eyes are on the nose of the airplane. So the different sensors that we put on the nose are electro-optical infrared sensor or a synthetic aperture radar. Both being able to achieve something that you cannot achieve from low altitude sensors. All that information that's being passively collected or actively collected is then transmitted through the satellite dish that is on the back of the airplane. It goes into the satellite architecture down to a ground station where so it truly is a glider. Now, as we watch the aircraft coming past, I think it's worth reflecting, given our eyes in the skies theme, how the U-2's capability has evolved, even in relatively recent times, because wet film used to be the order of the day. Was it 2022 or so that was retired? That's right, the optical bar camera is what that was called, and it had actual film, several miles of film on a large reel, produced by Kodak, that was in the back of the airplane, and it was a purely optical sensor, passively operated. And it's basically the sensor that the airplane was built with. And it was just recently retired, that particular sensor, but it's been replaced with far more high-fidelity sensors as far as imagery and both signals intelligence as well. And we're talking real-time transmission, aren't we, to commanders on the ground. That's absolutely right. Something the optical bar camera, the wet film wasn't capable of doing, was taking the picture and processing it immediately and getting it to the commanders. But the imagery sensors that we have today are absolutely able to do.
Yeah, what I need to know is I'm going to take locate down from which is right. Spread hours, that's 20.
Well there, a live U-2 landing taking you into the cabin of the Dodge Charger chase car, and what a spectacle that is. And Popeye, we very much hope it's one that we'll be able to see again in the future.
With 70% of the aircraft's lifespan remaining, we sure hope so too.
Let's just have a word as the aircraft rolls past. I love how weathered and operational this aircraft looks. About the 99th Expeditionary Reconnaissance Squadron tail markings on the aeroplane.
That's our Friday tail flash. That's a red dragon with a top hat and a monocle, having a nice cup of tea.
I love it. What a fantastic aeroplane. Please pass on our thanks to all the crew from the 99th ERS who've made this happen. The Lockheed U2S.
Barrel 1 3 run detected a Bravo, hold short runway 27.
The rotors were absolutely on that so the customer is
Will the crew members saluting you from the open cabin door, finishing their display, Captain Tim Ackman and Major Carsten Point with demo has become known as the Tiger display team, reflecting the fact that the base fatbag from which the helicopters come is in the Lüneburger Tiger or Lüneburg East area of Germany. We're going to be seeing the team's Macchi MB339s on display later in the show. But the two aeroplanes that are shortly going to be lining up on the right-hand end of the runway depict the aircraft that's going to be the next equipment for the Frecce, and they depict its previous equipment to the MB339, indeed only the second aircraft type the Frecce ever operated. The first of them, the future equipment lining up in front of its historic counterpart, and an historic moment indeed this weekend, because the magnificent largely blue aeroplane that's going to be the second of the two to take off is making its British debut in civilian hands. And as it completes this orbit, starting its takeoff roll underneath, the Catalani Group's utterly magnificent Fiat G91R 1A.
Non-fiction writer, a dreamer, but this aircraft had reached the end of its flying hours, grounded, forgotten, left in a playground. That's where Renzo found it and rescued it from oblivion. At first, didn't even dare. Sperimentale di volo, who is one of the witness, one of the main character of the passage. Only a qualified test pilot could return the G91 to the sky, and that pilot is
Piacenza just in time for quite a big celebration in 2023, Mike.
the centenary Italian Air Force. The guys from Piacenza, I know them. They're very, very cool guys. They're really, really great. With the patience, you know. 1953.
January 1961 when the Italian Air Force decided to form one permanent aerobatic team rather than spreading the responsibility around its different 86E Sabres. They went up to 9 aircraft in 1962, by which time the name Frecce Tricolori, or three-coloured arrows, was very much in use. Then in late December 1963, they began to switch to the Fiat G91, always known as the Gina.
1929 took on a challenge. He designed the famous Savoia Marchetti S55, F55, the seaplane. The same the Balbon fly across the Atlantic in 1933, but Gabriele built it in metal, not wood. It was the first Italian aircraft ever made in Italy. Among Gabriele's projects, don't forget the G222, an aircraft that was often at RIAT before the C-27 Chase Fighter.
I did.
I wonder what is there for you.
Debuted the Frecce Tricolori at the start of the 1964 season. At that point, they flew 6 aircraft, their regular shows in Italy, and 9 if they were appearing at more prestigious domestic events or in their international ones.
Right, there are areas of the wings where airflow can go supersonic. That's because air accelerates over the upper surface where pressure drops and slows down under the wing where pressure rises. But this acceleration causes shock waves to form on the wing surface, adding a lot of drag. So the lane is sudden rising drag because it whips the wing backwards. And this is the G91 who ended his performance here at 2025, drawn by Mauri.
So please keep your eyes on the skies for Rocket 5 around this demonstration. Possibly the highlight of today, I might say. This next deployed operation in the RIAT in 2014 as a weapons systems operator. He's been on the Chinook force since 2017. He's a qualified crewing instructor with over 2,000 hours on rotary platforms. When Dave's not in work, Jason's doing work, he can be found on the golf course. Now riding into the roll demo with style today, we have members of the Joint Helicopter Support Squadron. Keep half an eye on that top right to see just how quickly these enablers can work. With a quick step-by down the aircraft now departed in an over-the-shoulder transition. This is the defensive maneuver presenting the full ballistic section towards the... To the display pilot, squadron leader Nathan Scheuer, takeoff clearance is given to the number 29 squadron, Eurofighter Typhoon FGR-4, indication of what 20,000 pounds of thrust is like. We expect once he's passed over you, Nathan to be rolling the aircraft through 360 degrees. What he chooses to do after that depends on the cloud base at his disposal. Nathan, someone who has a little bit of RIAT history to his credit, is the last newly converted Tornado GR4 pilot to convert to the site before its withdrawal from service in early 2019. He's just called that he's tipping. For a little while, in which case he'll be accelerating to an excess of 500 miles an hour and pulling up into a loop top. Could be expecting no fewer than 5 overall success on this. Aileron rolls like that are really hard on the inner ear. Quite often, aerobatic pilots, if they've done a number of rolls in one direction, will then reset the fluid in the inner ear by rolling in the opposite direction, but it's not later. Up for a half Cuban and back in on the 45. Straight back in on the B-axis towards us, pulling up into a loop. Combat jet displays such as this. Back down the line initially, holding the aircraft on the knife edge, and from that he'll be rolling it inverted and pushing it away from you, again, minus 3G, and climbing inverted to about 3,500 feet.
throttling, now pulling, setting up for the high-speed pass. Now we just had some changes to regulations in the UK. We now allow 600 knots. Now the transition from the high-speed element of the show to the more relaxed, relatively slow speed. So, setting up for a slow-speed roll and pass. Yeah. These are operational military aircraft with operational roles to perform, and the Typhoon Force has been so busy with Shader, the current RAF commitment in the Middle East against Daesh, and also on QRA operations, Quick Reaction Alert, the 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, 365-day a year air defence alert in the UK, in the Falkland Islands, and as part of numerous NATO air policing efforts. Sustained 365 degrees, remaining at 90 for the entirety of the first two-thirds of that time. If you'd like to wish him a very happy birthday, there's one of the memorial to Group Captain Douglas Farder. So, not content with a normal run in a break, that was a burner break, but also to be very unusual indeed. Yes, Flying Scholarships for Disabled People has performance by some of the most by the German Air Force there as a maximum effort takeoff. Aircraft was airborne in about 4,000 feet, accelerating about another 30 knots beyond the usual rotate speed in order to facilitate that high departure. A tactical demonstration nevertheless. This is something that is conducted on off when in contested areas, so it minimises the amount of time the aircraft is at risk from ground fire. The A400M has replaced all sorts of platforms across all sorts of services. Of course, in the RIAT, it's taken over from the C-130J Hercules. With the Luftwaffe, it was the Franco-German Transall C-160 that it supplanted, and the first one of these aircraft for the German Air Arm was handed over towards the end of 2014. It was possible to completely retire the Transall by the end of 2021. And the Luftwaffe's airlift capabilities are now being augmented beyond the fleet of A400Ms by the Binational Air Transport Squadron of C-130J Hercules, operated in conjunction with the French Air and Space Force from Évreux in France, and one of those is on static display at the Air Tattoo for the first time this weekend. Undercarriage is down now, 14 wheels and tyres designed to operate from unprepared surfaces at high weights. The A400M is an incredibly capable aircraft. It has the ability to carry a 30-ton 9 aircraft pallets and 54 passengers, or 66 stretchers, with a maximum payload of 37 tons. It's also a very manoeuvrable aircraft, which it has to be to operate in the sort of contested environment Mark mentioned earlier, where small arms fire could be a threat. The A400M has a maximum bank angle of 120 degrees, which we've seen demonstrated here by Airbus test pilots in the past. We won't see anything quite like that from this Luftwaffe aircraft, but still very impressive. About a 60-degree banked turn there, and next the aircraft will be set up for a running simulating a visual check of a simulated air drop zone. Sorties against Daesh facing out of Jordan. More recently, these aircraft have been refueling multinational assets on patrols relating to the enhanced air policing missions NATO has been mounting since the start of the Ukraine conflict. Now, bringing the aircraft in for a short landing.
Just basically said he's not doing it.
He is coming inside, but
remain on
providing reverse thrust, and bringing the aircraft to a halt at about 4,000 feet.
the problem is, when the one's flat out range, it's not much too good. Range is too good.
Finishing off a really good demonstration of the Airbus A400M from Lufthansa. The PJLW3 Stockholm, or the English translation, the Falcon, is a medium-sized, twin-engine, multi-purpose helicopter, developed and manufactured by Polish helicopter company Civil Signals, which is now owned by Leonardo. It is a full helicopter entirely designed and produced in Poland. The Czechs never really expected to procure this type, you might say, because they received them for cleaning the 10 MiG-29 different fighters which were transferred from the Czech Republic to Poland. We've got them in two different colour schemes here. We see the first one in the West White scheme, deployed initially as part of the rescue segment of the demonstration, around somewhere in 2022, and this is the only aircraft outside the Czech Republic where it's being performed. And leading the team in the red and white helicopter is Lieutenant Colonel Petr Saperek, a very experienced helicopter pilot in the Czech Air Force. And he's making a really welcome return to the display circuit. He's flown solo displays in the Sokol in the past, but didn't fly any in 2024 because he was battling cancer. He's made a full recovery from that. He's got his medical back after 430 days of grounding in January of this year, and he has started flying demos again in April. And now he is well, I'm not quite sure that they're starting rescuing the survivors in the course of this sequence, but anyway, they're being deposited back on the ground by Petr. From a detachment base at Wilson. The advanced rotor design incorporates the use of all composite materials in the 3-bladed tail and 4-bladed main rotor. The rotors also have an ice protection system which gives the helicopter the ability to operate in environments between -40 and +43 degrees. That is at the display centre now, and flying the camouflage Sokol, the number 2 in the formation, is Major Anthony Kostu PhD, who also knows a variety of helicopter types in the Czech Air Force. We now entering what we often term carousel footage, which is described as a merry-go-round. So the merry-go-round is actually, so they've stopped to face each other and they'll be conducting real times before pushing back into forward flight. And this is where those of you nearest to the closest will have a really good close view of the two W3As because they're both going to be performing rolling landings. transport version can accommodate up to 12 passengers or 2,200 kilos of cargo. They can carry an underslung Bambi bucket for firefighting, and that was used a lot last year when there was a major blaze in a Czech national park in the area often referred to as Bohemia, Switzerland, in the very north of the Czech Republic, near the German border. Now they're repeating the rolling landings from the other direction. First Lieutenant Katerina Kardosova and Flight Engineer Warrant Officer Ramek Spencer. Turn back down towards the west end of the airfield to return to parking. Excellent check, Sophol, synchro.
advantage you will ever see of a barrel roll. Next up, an inverted pass. For the decelerating. To 30 knots to get ready for this escape version of the Cobra.
navigation display pass a flight of about 400 feet, speed somewhere in the region of 120 knots. To RIAT 2025.
But thank you very much.
I've done some ducks for it anyway.
Yeah. It shows interest. It shows interest.
These two are coming in, so you're trying to get
commanding a 43 fighter squadron in a Spitfire over Italy in April of 1945. Group Captain Paddy Hemingway, DFC. God bless you, sir. Thank you for your service. And from RIAT 2025, we salute you. Before that, Space TV has been broadcasting the flying display line, followed by a right turn to parallel the crowd line for the slow speed pass. All the Danish F-16s now concentrated with the fighter wing Stridsstrup. This aircraft is from 727 Fighter Squadron. Their days, though, are very much numbered as the F-35A comes on screen. Air Force in 1978, the F-16 has been flown by 25 other countries, from Norway to Chile and Morocco to Singapore. The 2023, an amazing 55 years after the into service, 85 years aircraft service to the United States Air Force. This aircraft is the same one displayed here last year, marking the 50th anniversary last year of the maiden flight of the first prototype F-16. There are different designs on the top and the bottom. The top side's designed to show an impression of speed. The underside's a diving falcon.
It's not going to be where we are either, is it?
I say that.
He's going to be here.
And we're positioning now for a very impressive high-speed pass.
Yeah, 1250. Actually, no, 60 on the same time now. 2000. It did have some nice muscles.
There's a couple of loaded rolls there. And a further reposition. It's time for the waving pass. And he and his team would like these words said in conclusion of their weekend here. On behalf of the Royal Danish Air Force, we thank you for inviting us back once again to lovely Fairford. This is the final year of the F-16 in the Danish Air Force. We hope you enjoyed the half-century Fighting Falcon demonstration flight, and that we certainly did. Teo with the Danish F-16 bringing the RIAT 25 flying to a close, and nearly bringing to a close his career as the F-16 display pilot, with just a few shows in Denmark to come. Yeah. So what you're about to witness is what's known in the aviation world as a water salute. It's described as an occasional occurrence for a ceremonial purpose, and typically consists of a vehicle which dispenses water over the top, forming an archway, whilst a person or an aircraft that's going out of service passes underneath. And thank you, Teo, once again for brilliant inclusion to our air show and the 3 fantastic days during which we managed to get in pretty much everything we hoped to get in, barring those aircraft that had dropped out beforehand. And that's F-17, for example, the Egyptian Air Force and 74. Flying displays we haven't seen either at this show before or for a very long time. The likes of the Fiat G91 really stand out in that regard. The debut yesterday of the RIAT new wedge-tail AEW1, and we could go on and on and on. Well, let's see if we can summarise it in some way. In front of us, but also in the static part. Also in the static part, we were looking ahead to the future of aviation. We've seen mixed formation.
Just a reminder that the showgrounds will be closing to the visiting public at 7.
Where did you say the hole was in it, Sean? George, where did you say the hole was?